Good evening, my friends. This is Paul, and today I'm going to be reviewing arms. So, most people are born with two of them. They allow all of these lovely fingers to extend farther than just being stuck next to your shoulders like a T-Rex. They're very flexible, and you can do all sorts of crazy, wonderful things with them. Oh, you want me to review the game arms? Well, I hate to say it, but I actually think these are a lot better than what you're about to see. Okay, jokes aside, we're reviewing the video game arms for the Nintendo Switch. Now, if you're wondering why it took me so darn long to review this, for one, when I first rented it from GameFly, my restrictions were a lot stricter as far as what games I should review versus what games I should only play. The second reason is that I got a free trial of this game because I had a free trial of Nintendo Switch Online, so a free trial within a free trial. Cool, I'll take it. This video is not sponsored, endorsed, or supported by Nintendo in any way. I just felt like thanking them for giving me a whole bunch of ancient games to play for a week. You guys are wonderful. Now give me N64 games. Back to ARMS. In case you couldn't tell by the footage, this is a 3D fighting game where you control a variety of fighters that have extendable arms. What's really cool is that they can swap out which arms they use, so while you could have two of the same arms, you could also have different ones. Depending on which button you push on your controller or which Joy-Con you thrust forward, you can actually operate the arms independently of each other and even angle their trajectory with either your wrists or the control stick. This adds for a lot of variety, as not only are there a huge assortment of characters, more so if you decide to update the game, but there's also a huge variety of arms within characters, so there's an almost endless amount of possibilities for how you could go about the match. I feel like Nintendo is trying to capitalize on the popularity of Splatoon and Super Smash Bros., and while at the time this game was considered kind of a bust for them, I feel like with ARMS being represented more in Smash as a character coming up, and the fact that they've started up tournaments again, I feel like Nintendo's trying to give this game another chance, and so I will too. So a couple of other mechanics you have to think about in ARMS are you can also shield, jump, in some fighters' case double jump, and grab. You grab by pushing both of your arms out at once, and if your opponent doesn't block them, then you'll grab them and hurl them across the arena. Shields can block you from pretty much any attack, and to my knowledge there's no such thing as shield durability, but shields can be grabbed through, so there's always a nice risk-reward factor in there. There's also 3 power-ups that randomly spawn in the arena. There's the blue bottle, or the green bottle, colorblind or something, that refills your health, the yellow bottle, which fills up your rage meter, which basically allows you to unleash a flurry of punches at your opponent, Final Smash style, and finally there's the bomb, which, well, explodes. I mean, what else does a bomb do? There's also mini-games to offset the action if you don't like all of the fighting. However, these mini-games are pretty much over by the time you play it once and don't really have a whole lot of lasting appeal. The only minigame I could see people wanting to come back to over and over again is the 1-on-100 mode, where you face a whole bunch of creepy-looking arms, Wii Sports Resort style, and try to survive. One of the coolest concepts for a minigame, in my opinion, is the basketball one, where you exclusively rely on grabs to toss your opponent into a basketball net. I am terrible at basketball in real life, so it's nice to know that the characters will automatically aim at the hoops and you will never miss a shot, so long as you hit your opponents with a grab. Unfortunately, if it seems like I'm trying to stretch out the content in this game, that's because it's over pretty darn quickly. I could, of course, go in depth about all of the mini-games, but even if I listed every single one of them, my explanation would only last a couple of seconds. And that goes for the main gameplay, too. Once you've finished getting your hands on everything, the only thing left to do is either to get more arms or get more badges, which is this game's equivalent of achievements and unlockables, which, if you're a completionist, cool. But if you're not, the only incentive I can think of for continuing to play ARMS is if you really like facing opponents online, or if you want to try to beat all of the levels in Grand Prix. Now let me warn you, if you are going to try to do this, that's going to take kind of a long time to do. I played this game pretty extensively during my free trial and also when I had it with Gamefly, and I couldn't get past level 2 the second time I tried it. I think the first time I was able to get past level 4, but I must have gotten really old and really rusty since then, because when I tried to boot up the game again, I got halfway through level 2 before I kept getting clobbered by Springman. Thankfully, I edited out most of that footage, because no one likes seeing a YouTuber who stinks at video games, unless you're the Wii viewer. So, I figured, you know what? If all you're doing is just playing the mini games and you're just facing opponents over and over again, there's not really a story to speak of, there's not a world map, there's not really a shop, that's kind of the sign that you've seen everything that there is to do, and that pretty much is my process for when I review a game, is when I've quote-unquote beaten it. In the case of ARMS, I think it's fair to say that after the first couple of minutes that you've played it, you kind of have beaten it. All you really do is just try to find different ways to use the multifaceted arms that you have. Be it through basketball, be it through volleyball, be it through whatever these black things are. At the end of the day, you're just punching. Now, when this game was first revealed, it was implied that you had to use motion controls Wii Sports Resort style. And while you definitely can do that, don't be afraid if you're turned off by the concept, because you can play this game completely with traditional controls. In fact, the majority of, actually the entirety of the time I captured this footage, this was all done with a Pro Controller, for better or for worse. As you can see, I kind of stink at this. But the game works perfectly fine. I didn't feel like I had any extra advantages or disadvantage when I did try out the motion controls. And when I went back to traditional controls, the only thing I can think of that was slightly better was the fact that you can customize which button does which. With the motion controls, obviously, if you thrust both arms out at a time, you do a grab. Whereas if you thrust only one out, you just punch. So the immersion factor is definitely nice from having motion controls, but if you're not properly synced up to the TV, or if you don't have the best dexterity in real life with your actual arms, it's probably best to stick to a Pro Controller, which you're used to. The last thing I want to touch on is the production value of ARMS, which is pretty darn awesome, as you'd expect from a first-party Nintendo-published title. The music, the arenas, and the graphics are really gorgeous, even if they can sometimes be a little bit repetitive. At the end of the day, you can only see so many varieties of a square arena. That said, the game is colorful and sharp, and even my dad was impressed when he was watching this, and he's not usually impressed with the games I play. Usually he asks me why I'm going back to the Stone Age when he sees me playing games. But this, he was like, wow, this is ultra sharp. Do we have a 4K TV? And I said, no, this is just HD, and he was still pretty mind blown. So ARMS is fun to look at. It has a nice variety of music, nothing really orchestral, but there's definitely a lot of get your blood pumping types of songs that I'm excited to see which ones will be in Smash or be remixed. So it's a treat for the eyes and the ears, not so much for your fingers and longevity. So with that, I'm not going to give ARMS a score, because it didn't come out in 2020. But I will say that my feelings on it were pretty much meh. I thought the concept was cool. I thought the initial reveal trailer was even cooler than the game itself, but I found that there's just not enough to convince me to keep going. Whereas games like Smash offered a variety of things to do besides just fighting, like viewing the trophies in Melee or doing World of Light, this is just a lot of fighting at the end of the day. It doesn't really have the fan service of other Nintendo games, like wouldn't it have been cool if you could unlock Little Mac as a potential fighter, for example. And it basically relies on sheer originality, so people that are really sold on nostalgia are probably going to get bored by this pretty easily. It's definitely worth a try, especially if you can get it for free like I did, but I definitely wouldn't get it at full price. Maybe if it goes down to like $20 or something, that would be reasonable. Or rent it from Gamefly, but definitely don't buy this full price. With that, thank you very much for watching, and at the end of the day...
Now just you wait a cotton picking second. You finished doing a whole video on the video game ARMS, but you hardly talked about the real ARMS. You're just cut off so you can get right to the review. Well, let me tell you something. As someone who was never born with arms, let me tell you why that would be worth an investment. investment, just in case you was born with maybe only one arm or no arms like yours truly. See, these extendable things, from me being able to play the game Arms with my feet, I've learned that they can be pretty darn useful. See, in the game, they're always used for terrible things like beating people up. But what you can do with real arms is you can hug people, you can make the sign of the cross. Why, you can even make your own game by just drawing it on a piece of paper. That's what a lot of indie companies do. So, I don't know how many indie companies make games with their feet, but I reckon it'd be a heck of a lot easier if they could type with their hands. In fact, this guy who made this video, he's probably going to use those arms so that he can type on his keyboard without getting his whole body leaned over. So, even though the video game Arms came out in 2017, so he don't want to do no ranking system, I still say that we should rate arms, because there are people that are coming out in 2020 that are born with arms, and there are some that ain't. So for those that are born with arms, well, you already have them, so not really much of a reason to rate them. But for those that are born without arms, I give these a solid 20 out of 20. They're just too overrated, and people take for granted what they be having, as opposed to thinking about those that have less. So, truth be told, fellas, I think you just need to help a little fella out. Just like this reviewer's doing by holding me up so that I can properly look into the camera and say hi to all you lovely people. Maybe those of you with arms should go and give someone a hand. Not literally, make sure you get it back. So with that, thank you very much for watching, and until next time, keep the faith, stay epic, God bless, and give a helping hand to your friend if I didn't already say that. Thank you for letting me on your channel, Catholic Nintendo Nerd, and I'll see you all the next time. Bye-bye, folks.